In this video, we're going to put together probably my favorite box. Well, in this case, it's a basket of the new bundle that we're just releasing. And surprisingly, it goes together very easily, despite how cool it looks with the layered look on the side here. And you'll get a good glimpse of that momentarily here. But this would be great for any occasion, really. You could use it for Easter, make a cute little Easter basket, or just a nice little open face box to present a gift with. So let's just take a quick look at what we have here. And at first glance, it looks a little odd, but I promise you it's very simple. And we're going to take it one step at a time here. So let's start by taking a look at this piece here. This is going to be the bottom of our basket. Okay, and this is the exterior here. And I've got these two panels that are going to go on the exterior. So let's get them glued down. And there's a little hole where our brad is going to be that will ultimately kind of hold everything together. But the hole's also great because it's going to help us get everything lined up nicely as far as these panels go. So let's get the panels on there first. Just like that. Okay, flip it over to the other side and get the other one on there. This is going to be, I think this is going to be your guys' favorite as well. Once you see, I think I'm excited about how cool it looks, but also how well it's designed and how easily it goes together. There's a little bit of gluing, but the brad at the end kind of does all the work for you. Okay, so let's put that off to the side. We've got the panels on there. This is a liner piece. Okay, and that's going to go on the inside to add a little bit of stability to our project once we get it all glued in place. And next we can take a look at this piece here. This is one side, this is the other side. So you want to take a moment to just get everything scored or folded at the score marks here. Okay, and there are also score lines on these sections here. You want to make sure that you get those nice and folded so we have a nice crisp edge. I'm going to flip it over onto the texture side here. And there's a total of 6 of these for each of these. So we have 12 total. So when you're putting these pieces down, you want to make sure that you find the correct piece, okay? Because these holes are not, they're not always in the center of this panel, okay? So you want to make sure that you get the piece where it lines up with the hole perfectly, but also leaves a nice even border all the way around the design. Okay, so make sure you find the right piece. Just get all 12 of them out and just lay one on top of there. Make sure that it lines up nicely. You'll notice that on this piece, the hole is a little off center. In this case, just a tad to the right. Okay, so just make sure you get the right piece. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Let's flip this over. This one is dead center. This one's off to the left a little bit, and the next one is way off to the left. So let's just make sure that we get the right one here. I'm gonna lay these out so that I can kind of tell which way and where the holes are going. Okay, so let's see, I'm looking for one that's going way left. That would be this one here. And I'll get that glued down. Okay, so that one's going way left. Gonna get it right on top of that hole. Nice and centered. And bam, that one's good. Now this one's going slightly left. That looks like this piece. Let's line it up, and yep, that looks good. So let's get our glue on there. So again, before you glue it down, it's by design that the holes are a little off center in some parts, and they're either going to be off to the left a tad or off to the right a tad, depending on which side of which side of the box you're working on. Okay. And this one looks pretty much dead center. I've got a nice dead center piece here, and I'm just gonna pop it on there just to be sure that that looks right, and it does. So let's get that glued down. I'm starting off a little too strong on the glue there up at the top, and it's kind of leaking out a tad. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Okay, so one side's done, just like that. Let's move that off to the side and work on our next side. Now this one here on this side, all the dots are either straight or off to the left a tad. So let me find the one that's centered. That would be this guy here. Let's line that up. That looks good. And get that glued into place. Just make sure you get enough glue on the top and bottom, as well as off to the side, so we don't have any tiny little bit of this peeling back or off of the base here. Okay, the next one is going off to the left just a tad. That looks like this piece, and it is. So let's get that glued down. And most of this is going to be tucked away anyway, so really not going to see, just mostly well, I guess it would be the outside part. The inside part's going to be tucked away. And this one goes, it kind of leans more over to the left, off center left. So that's the piece we're looking for. Let's get our glue on that. And just drop that right on there. Nice and centered. Make sure you've got a nice even border going all the way around. And voila. And let's flip this over. And again, these are pushing off to the right a little bit. And let's find the one that goes way right. That would be this guy. Let's get him in place, and you get the idea. So just finish putting the panels on, and then we can continue with the next step here. Okay, so next thing here is we're going to take our base, and these two pieces should be identical, and they are, so it really doesn't matter what goes where. What we're going to do is we're going to take this tab here and glue it to the inside of our base. So we can grab our glue, and of course that little fine line right along the edge. And I'm going to use my table as a guide here just to make sure that I'm getting everything nice and lined up. Looking at the score marks, make sure those are on the same plane. I'm just going to push that down. Grab my other side, do the same thing. Let's get our glue on the tab, and then one nice little line along the edge. So, and get that nice and lined up with the score marks there, right up, butting it right up to the edge as far as it can go, and then pushing the tab over. Okay. All right. Now, while we have it flat, you can also take this piece here. This is going to be our little liner on the interior, and if it helps, to help you kind of position this, you can lift those sides up a little bit, and don't overdo it on the glue with this. You don't want it warping the paper and looking unsightly, but let's cover up those little tabs in there and make this thing nice and polished on the inside, and just make sure you're not encroaching over the score lines on the left or right hand side. And there we go. Okay. Let's put this off to the side for a second and let it sort of set. These are the little panel pieces that are going to go on the sides here, and we're going to glue those on after everything's kind of in place so that it doesn't wiggle around too much. We also have a handle, okay, and there's two parts to this handle for, well, actually there's There's 3 parts to the handle, but I'll show you what to do here. First thing we want to do is take and just train the handle. Give it a little bit of a round curve so that it's ready and easier to glue when we glue these 2 pieces on top of each other, because otherwise they may try to fight each other a little bit, and we don't want that. This is ultimately the position it's going to be in, and we want it to hold nicely in that position. So make sure that you train it a little bit, and then go ahead and apply your glue. Try to get it out to the little scallopy areas there on the design. I need to work a little bit quicker here. And I'm just doing big circular motions with my glue to kind of make sure that I'm getting out to that little scalloped area as well. I don't want that peeling back. Okay, like so. And then could technically do this flat, and then while it's beginning to set, just quickly put it back into its position. Don't flatten it down too much, but okay, 1 second here. Okay. There we go. Just like that. And I would kind of work the different sections individually so we don't end up straightening this thing out too much. Okay. Just like that. And let's give that some time to set before we do anything else. But in the meantime, we've got 1 more piece to the handle. Let's train that. Now this piece here, we're going to glue it maybe halfway down. Okay, so let's get it lined up. We're not going to glue it down all the way to the edge because we want the little handle to, this part of the handle is going to go on the inside of the basket. This is going to go on the outside of the basket. So with that said, I'm going to take and I'm going to glue down from about here to about here, okay? And let's get some glue out to the edge as well. Got a little glue on my table there. You can do it like this. I would line up one of the holes on one side and just hold that while you take the rest of it and just position it in place. Okay, and just make sure that that other hole lines up nicely as well. And then just push down in the areas where you have the glue, and then quickly bring it back into shape, like so. Okay, so it should look like this. It should open up here at the bottom. Okay, and it's okay if it's a tad bit off. As long as that brad gets in there, it's going to look nice. So don't worry about it too much. Okay, so that's done. Now we do have 2 little bows here that we're going to put together, 1 for each side. And again, everything's going to be kind of held together in place with the brads when we're done. So let's take a look at the first bow. You've got one that has 2 sides, one that has 1 side, and a tail. And I'm using the floral pattern here, so I'm going to train it like this. Training this to give it a nice roundness to it, a nice roundness. And then you can see there's a half circle here with a little hole cut out. What we're going to do is just put a little bit of glue on the back of that, and should have been a little bit, not a lot. And then just line that up with the hole in the center, making sure that you're not obstructing that hole and that you have it nice and aligned. And give it a squeeze. Okay, and then we're going to repeat the same process on the other side. Just put a little bit of glue right on that little section there and bring that in and line it up with the other side there. And just hold until that sets. So again, this is going to go pretty quick too, actually. It's a really unique looking little basket. Okay, so this is our dual loop piece. Now let's take this single loop piece and get that trained. And what we're going to do with this piece is we're going to glue it to itself. So you want to just put a little bit of glue on the little donut there and just squeeze this down and just glue it to itself. Okay, so this bow is going to be kind of bowing up, not down. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this part of the bow, you can kind of bend it forward a little bit. If you want, you can have the brad do all the work, but so that we're not trying to do too much at the same time here, we can just glue that right on there, just making sure that you get it nice and lined up with that little donut. So use the donut as your guide. Okay, I want to flatten this out a little bit. It might be a little too bulky. Okay, give that a good squeeze, make sure it's nice and centered. And then finally, take our tail and glue it on the back. So add a little glue onto the donut on the back side of this and glue the tail on. Okay, and that's how it's going to look. Once we put our brad on there to finish it off, it's going to look nice. Everything's going to be nice and hidden. Okay, so let's just go through that one more time with the second one. Okay, start with, I guess it doesn't really matter which one you start with, but I'm starting with the double loop piece. I'm going to give that a nice little train and just throw a little bit of glue on this half donut piece here and match it up with the center. Use that center hole as your guide. Give it a good squeeze. Okay. And then move on over to this guy here. A little bit of glue there. Just flatten that out and match it up here in the center onto the donut. Give it a squeeze. Okay. Perfect. And again, single loop. The single loop piece, we're going to take and glue that to itself right on the donut. Just make sure you got that center hole perfectly aligned. If you're off a smidge, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But do your best. Okay, there we go. And again, we want it kind of going up, not down. And we can put our glue on the center donut there. I'm going to dab that and spread it out and thin it out a little bit and get that aligned. Make sure it's nice and centered and give it a squeeze. Okay. And then let's put our tail on the back. And get that nice and centered. Nothing like a paper bow that's going to look perfect always. You don't have to worry about like a fabric bow losing its shape or getting ruined. This is always going to look nice and pristine. Okay, so what we can do at this point is take this, and the idea is to take these little pieces here and bring them back behind this front part here, okay, like so. Now if you want to, you can actually, if you want, you can actually glue these pieces together. I don't think it's necessary. I'm just going to start with one side here, and you want to make sure that you have this kind of pattern. I suppose you could do it this way, like that. I actually don't think it really matters which way you do it. Let me see here. No, it really doesn't. I guess by design, this is how we have it. Okay, so we'll get that behind there. And then same thing on the other side. So you kind of want to stagger that like so. Now this is where actually it may help to glue these together to make your life easier. So let's do that. Let's just put a little dot of glue just around the hole here. Grab this next one. So I'm starting at the top, I'm working my way down, and I'm just sandwiching these pieces together just to make this easier to work with. Okay, don't need a lot. It's just to kind of hold it in place until we can get the brad to do its job. Anytime I talk about brads, I feel like I'm talking to a person. Okay, so again, if you start at the bottom, take the next piece and slip it behind it. And just throw a little bit of glue around that dot. Just make sure that the dots line up nicely. Okay. And the last one here. Just slap a little glue on there and line up the dots. Okay, let's go to the other side and do the same thing. So again, the bottom side, the bottom piece here, you're seeing the whole thing. The rest of them kind of go behind it. So again, here's your bottom piece. That's going to be fully exposed. The rest of them go behind. Okay, so for this, I'm going to put glue on this piece, just like that. Tuck it behind this piece here, give it a squeeze. And then for this, just a little bit of glue there. Tuck it right behind there, get it nice and aligned. There we go. And back to this one. Throw a little glue right around that hole. Get that nice and aligned. And finally, this hole here. And get that nice and aligned. And give it a squeeze. Okay, so now you can go ahead and close this up and get all the holes aligned. And here, let's do this. We have these really cute rose brads. So I'm going to take that, slide it through my bow. Okay, and then I'm going to slide it through this panel. Oh, we still have a handle too. Got to get the handle on here, guys. Okay, so let's slide this through here. We're sliding it through the first panel here. Okay, then let's take our handle and slide it through the first part of the handle. Remember, there's two sections. This little section is going to go inside the box, so don't worry about that. So we're sliding it through the first part of the handle. Then we have to slide one side of the box in, and then the other side of the box. Hopefully you guys can see this. And then our handle, the inner part of the handle, goes over that. And then you can close up the brad to hold it all in place. And let's just, so there you go. That is what the end result is going to look like. And I'm going to do this one more time on this side here, and hopefully in a manner that you can actually see it better. So take your brad, feed it through the front. Okay, that's the first part. Okay, and then, oh wait, sorry, my bad. Take your brad, feed it through your bow, then feed that with the bow, feed it through the front. Then, how did I do that? Then the front part of the handle, leaving the back one up like that, okay? And then one side of the box, right through the holes there. It'd be a lot easier if that brad was closed up more, but it's not. I need to squeeze it a little more. And I can't really dig my face in there, okay? Then the other side of the box. And then finally, through the last part of the handle. And then I can go ahead and flare the little brad out. Okay, so there is our cute little basket. It looks great. And all that's left to do is put our little side panels on. And you can kind of see why I waited to the end, because it is a little flimsy, I guess, until we get everything glued together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting my glue on this. And I'm just going to do one section here real quick. because I want to make sure that it gets on there nicely. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and kind of smush it onto the centerpiece so that the score lines are matched up. That is going to help with my alignment. And then I can go ahead and press this down. Okay, so there is one side completed. You've got the face, the nice bow, our brad, and finally doing the same thing here on the other side. I'm going to start by just putting glue on one of these sections. Then I'm going to use the center as my guide. I'm just going to kind of push the center into place like so. Hopefully you can see this. So I'm starting at the center here and using these little score marks here as a guide. And then once I'm sure that I've got it centered, I can go ahead and push down up here now and get that in place. Give it a good squeeze. Okay. And now we can lift this back and get our glue on the remaining sections here. Okay, oh, let's not forget to get that glue right out to the edge so that that looks nice and clean, and just push it down onto the main structure. Work those ends there too, because that's where it tends to want to kind of come off. But there we go. So, very cool, huh? A little different, but very effective, very sturdy, and unlike anything I've really seen. And, you know, like I said, it goes together very easily, not that much work, actually very fun as well. Oh, also, one other thing you can do too, let me grab a smaller dowel here and just flare this tail out a little bit to give it a little oomph, so it's not sitting all flat and boring. Let's kind of pull it away from our actual basket here. You can just kind of do that. There you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial, and if you make this, we'd love to see your version of it. Take a moment and visit us on Facebook by doing a search for Dreaming Tree Group on Facebook. And if you love the video, take a moment to visit our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.